my fellow Blue Jackets fans, and welcome to Boom and Gloom. This, of course, is a Columbus Blue Jackets podcast where I discuss the boom and the gloom, or the good and the bad, of CBJ hockey. My name is Anthony. You might have seen me on social media as Whaler Jacket, and I am North America's longest suffering hockey fan. If you're new around here and don't know why I call myself that, well, I explain it almost every episode, so feel free to listen to the introduction of a previous episode if you're interested. Trust me, it is warranted. I really, truly believe no other hockey fan has suffered as long or as much as I have. And anyone out there who is listening right now and is a returning listener, thank you. Thank you for joining me again. I truly appreciate all your support. Well, I'm back, recording another episode of Boom and Gloom. Why? My intention was to pop on here a couple of times during the summer when CBJ news hit. Like, free agent signings, trades, draft news. But here I am. Now. Why? Well, I don't know about how some of you feel out there, but I am starved for Blue Jackets content right now. I love NHL playoff hockey, but I've become less and less interested in paying attention to it in the past few seasons because my favorite team keeps missing out on participating. It has been 6 years now since the Blue Jackets made the playoffs, and I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of watching other teams compete in the playoffs while my team fails to qualify yet again. My parents and my sister, they're diehard New York Rangers fans. So I was brought up in a home that, really liked the Rangers. Therefore, I have a soft spot for them. I consider them my second favorite team. And they're not in the playoffs. My brother's favorite team is the Nashville Predators. So I have a small soft spot for them too. But they're not in the playoffs either. So I really have no horse in the race to cheer for. If the Jackets didn't miss the playoffs so regularly, I probably wouldn't feel that way. A season or two out of the playoffs, and I probably still have a pretty high level of interest. But after 6 years of waiting, I just find myself apathetic to, watching the playoff games that are going on right now. There's just no joy in it for me right now. I want to watch my team for once. I mean, the Jackets have only qualified 6 times out of their 25 years of existence. That's awful. And it's frustrating to see all the other teams who did qualify and their cheering fans. I mean, come on, look at the Philadelphia-Pittsburgh series right now. Philadelphia is up 3-2, giving Pittsburgh a run for their money. You can't tell me that couldn't have been the Jackets had they qualified. I could see the Blue Jackets doing exactly what the Flyers are doing now. And I know, granted, at this exact moment that I record this, the Flyers have lost the last 2 games in the series after going up 3-0, but that seems par for the course for Blue Jackets, right? Blowing late leads might as well blow some series leads too. But what I'm saying is, it's tough to see that because the Jackets were so close to being that team, being where the Flyers are right now. It's very frustrating, and with no hockey to watch, I turn my attention to finding Blue Jackets content. Articles, podcasts, and there isn't much out there. I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, the season's over. But I still find myself wanting to talk about the Blue Jackets. Read about the Blue Jackets, think about the Blue Jackets, think about their season coming up next year. But there's not much. There's not much that I can grab in terms of content. Brian Hedger's Cannon Fodder podcast, that just seemed to abruptly end in March. I'm not sure what happened there. I sent him an email, but I didn't get a response. The Monday Mailbag and the Inside Edge, both of those seem to be done until next season. Thankfully, Aaron Portzline is still doing his weekly Front and Nationwide podcast. And then you have Michael Arace's Cannonballs podcast. I'm not sure if that's going to continue throughout the off season, but I hope it does. He and his three adult kids lately, they're a good listen, and I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out yet. And there are a couple of other Blue Jackets podcasts out there, but honestly, none that I really enjoy listening to. So I thought to myself, if I can't find Blue Jackets content right now, then dagnabbit, I'll just make some myself. And that's what I'm here doing right now. Now, I mentioned the Cannonballs podcast. Michael Arace and his sons recently recorded an episode where they graded each Blue Jackets player's performance this past season. I appreciated their analysis, and I thought to myself, I can do that. I'm a teacher. I give grades almost every day. So that is what this episode is all about. I'm going to be talking about what grade each Blue Jacket player deserves. But first, some quick news to share. It was announced that assistant coaches Scott Ford and Mike Haviland and video coach Aaron Augustitis, I don't know if I butchered that name, but I'm going with Augustitis, they would not be returning to the Blue Jackets next season. Now, this move makes sense to me. These were Dean Evason's guys. When Rick Bowness arrived, he inherited them. They were not his guys. And while Bowness said that they did a great job, and I believe that he truly feels that way, they were not his guys. Okay? So, Bones has a lot of connections throughout the league. And I understand if he wants to, bring in assistants that he feels will best suit his plans going forward. My only hope, though, as I've mentioned previously, is that one of those guys is going to be Trent Vogelhuber. Now, this is not breaking news or cutting-edge analysis here, okay? This is just common sense and what has been talked about by multiple people. The Jackets like Vogelhuber. He's done a great job in Cleveland. They certainly don't want him bolting for another team and becoming the next Jared Bednar. He needs some NHL experience, though. So the thought is, promote Vogelhuber to assistant coach, have him learn from Rick Bowness, have him get some experience and learn how the NHL operates, and when Bones is ready to step down, well, then you have his replacement right there waiting in the wings. And I've seen this idea everywhere on social media, so if we fans and writers are thinking of it, then certainly the Jackets front office has at least already considered it. Hopefully that will be a move they make because I feel that is the right move to make. Let's see, other quick stuff. I look back and I shake my head at all the Blue Jackets fans out there who were constantly defending this team during their collapse they had down the stretch. There's still time. Every team loses some games. They're not going to win every single game. Stuff like that, you know. Now, I'm mostly talking about the group posts I read on Facebook. The fans going at each other there. Oh my goodness, the name calling, the insults, insulting one another. It was quite annoying, and that's why I was only ever a reader. I was never a contributor to those groups. But when I saw the collapse happening, I would read the comments of the deniers out there and think, haven't you watched this team in the last 25 years? These are the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yet they went on defending this team right to the very end. But I have to say, I admire them. Okay, to have such rose-colored glasses to watch this team through is very admirable. I wish I could be so positive about this team, so confident and so forgiving. But at this point, no, I am done with that. Show me the playoffs. Show me sustained success. Just having an improved record, or even just squeaking into the playoffs, no longer good enough for me. Okay, I am too old. I have done this for too long. I've watched this team for far too long without experiencing the joy that most other fans have experienced. Because, most other fans have seen their team at least get past the second round once in their lives. I just read something the other day, actually, that only the Blue Jackets and the Kraken have ever not made it to a conference final. Those are the only two teams that have never made it to the conference final in the NHL. I mean, heck, we can't even say our favorite team has made it past the second round. Can't even say our team has finished in second place ever in the division. 25-year-old franchise, and can't say it. So again, I admire the fans who can be so okay with mediocrity or less than mediocrity. I am not. And I admired them, even though I didn't believe them. I thought they were crazy for thinking this. But I admired them for not giving up hope, for being so optimistic when the team was clearly taking a nosedive. But here we are again. And I have already said that I will not spend another dime on this team until they turn things around. No shirts, no hats, no jerseys, no game tickets, all right? I'm not even going to pay for a ticket to go see them play. Not until they turn things around. I have spent enough on this team. And it's time they started giving back to me. And I say me, of course, but I mean we. Like us the fans who have supported this team for far too long without seeing them do much of anything. And okay, one more thing. Zach Werenski. He was seen on stage at a Luke Combs concert, chugging a beer, I think. And you, of course, have fans out there complaining. He just finished a season. A disappointing end to the season, and he's out chugging beers at a concert. Well, tell me this, all right? How long do you think Zach has to stay in his bed crying after the season is over? When is it okay for him to get back to his normal life? I think it's crazy how many fans that I've seen complain about this, weeks after the season ends. I think, what's it been, 2 weeks at this point? So, I'm sure he is still ticked about not making the playoffs. I'm sure the few days after the last game of the season were rough for Zach Werenski. But to think he should be sitting on his couch, curled up, moping under a blanket throughout the summer, it's ludicrous. And let's not forget, okay, unlike most NHL players, he did not get 3 weeks off during the Olympics. Zach is allowed some R&R. He's a human being after all. All players are. I was just really annoyed with some of the people out there that I saw complaining after seeing him having fun. That's what humans do. Especially as a way to escape the heartache he may be feeling after coming so close yet again and not making the playoffs. My message here, lay off Zach, all right? If he comes to camp overweight and out of shape, then feel free to lay into him again, okay? But I don't think we need to worry about that right now. All right, on to the grades. Now, as I've said before, I am an elementary school teacher, so I am very used to giving grades. However, my Blue Jacket player grades will not just be based on their performance. I'm also going to factor in expectations. Did the player deliver on what was expected of him? With that, let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the forwards, alphabetically by last name. So we begin with Charlie Coyle, A-. He came in from Colorado, and I got to hand it to him. He exceeded expectations. He was a solid, versatile, veteran presence who unexpectedly finished fourth on the team in scoring. I mean, I can't think of anybody who expected that when they traded for Charlie Coyle. This was the first year in his entire career that his team did not make the playoffs. It would be difficult to argue that Charlie Coyle does not mean a lot to the Blue Jackets, even after such a short amount of time with the team, just one season. Unfortunately, the team is probably going to have to overpay to keep him, whether it's term or contract amount or both. I'm 50-50 on whether he stays or goes. I know the team wants him to stay, but I don't know if he will. It's going to be a horribly heartbreaking loss if he leaves, but the Jackets, as we all know, are synonymous with heartbreak. So it honestly would not surprise me. And I gave him an A- instead of an A because down the stretch, when the team needed him the most, he did kind of fall off a bit. So A- for Charlie Coyle. Next up, Adam Fantilli. I give Adam a solid B. Above average play, because I always consider C a C grade average. So I'm giving him a B, above average play, and definitely a winning attitude. The guy obviously hates to lose and plays with emotion, and I love to see that. But I can't give him a higher grade because of my expectations, all right? I expected him to take another step forward this year, and I don't feel he really did. I mean, you could argue, that he actually had more points this year than he did last year, despite scoring less goals. But I don't know. I was expecting more from him. And yes, he was taken third in his draft, okay? But many experts said that if Connor Bedard wasn't in that draft, Adam Fantilli could have gone number one. So with that in mind, I want a little more from Adam Fantilli. So next season, I'm expecting more. Okay, I know he increased his assist numbers, increased his point total, his goal level went down. And he went through stretches this past season where he was kind of invisible. kept off the score sheet entirely. Wasn't making any big plays. So next year, the team needs him to be more consistent. And I am well aware that he is playing in a number one center position as a 21-year-old. I get that, and I respect that. But if you want an A in my grade book, then you got to take it up another notch. Next up, Connor Garland. I give him a C. When the Jackets traded for him, they got a motor. The guy flies around and is not afraid to mix it up. And he scored 4 goals in his first 2 games with the team. Or is that right? I think that's right. I think it was 4 goals in the first 2 games. And then he fell flat. As I mentioned in my last episode, as you hear this, Connor Garland is set to be the highest paid forward on the team next season, with a no-trade clause that kicks in July 1st. I hate to say it, but I expect more for a player making that much money on that type of contract. Because as I said, a C is commonly referred to as an average grade. And that's what... Ooh, my dog just dropped the microphone. Sorry about that. Here we go. So anyway, I feel that Connor Garland was average. Man, these dogs are wreaking havoc right now. Anyway, average. When the Jackets got him, I was happy. I thought it was a good deal. Until I saw his contract. And until he did basically nothing after those first 4 games or so. I'll be honest, I don't see him as a long-term solution for this team. But with his contract, they kind of have him for the long term. And so I hope Don Waddell will explore trading him before his no-trade clause kicks in July 1st. I was actually surprised, looking back, that Waddell even went after him. Because, if you look at Waddell's track record, he doesn't really fit the Don Waddell mold. A big, strong player. I mean, I'm not saying he's not strong. I'm just saying he doesn't have the height that you usually see with a big, strong player. All right, next up, Danton Heinen. I give him a B+. He was a 2-time waiver wire cast-off last season. A throw-in for the Igor Chinnikov trade. My dogs are driving me nuts. I have to pause this and get them out of here. All right. Mission accomplished. All right, here we go. So anyway, he came to the Jackets with something to prove, and he always gave 100% and did basically what was expected of him. Now, did I agree when he was thrown on the second line? No. He is not a second-line NHL player. But he did what was asked of him and always tried his best. Never really made any glaring mistakes. He was the player he was supposed to be. Maybe even more. So as a third or fourth line player, he played well. So he gets a B+ for me. He is an unrestricted free agent too. Do I hope the Jackets retain him? Not really. He is kind of a dime a dozen type player. Fills the need when necessary. But I don't feel like he should be a priority to be signed by this team. If the Jackets want a culture change, he seems like an easy piece to change without, to change out with someone else. Boone Jenner is next. C-. I give Boone a C as a player. an average player who played anywhere from the second to fourth lines. He can still win faceoffs. He can still put in a goal here and there. He can still show some physical stuff. But he is slow and took some really stupid, costly penalties. So he gets a C from me. But what brings him down to a C minus is what I believe are subpar, stale leadership skills. If Boone stays, and I honestly hope he moves on actually, or if Coyle leaves, he stays as a fourth line center at a low price. And I hope he gives up the captaincy. No playoffs in 6 years. It's just time for a new captain voice. Next up is Kent Johnson. I'm going to be harsh here, but F. He gets a failing grade from me. I can't remember ever seeing a player regress as much as he did when a team needed him more. He was supposed to take another step forward this season. Instead, he took several giant leaps back. He failed, plain and simple. He did not meet expectations. In fact, he fell far, far short of them. Considering he was a 5th overall pick, and I think this was like his 4th season now, this was a massive failure on his part. I believe if you looked at a list of reasons why the Jackets did not make the playoffs this season, the regression of Kent Johnson and Sean Monahan are right near the top, maybe even at the top. He had 17 less goals than last season. If he scored those 17 goals, if the Jackets had 17 more goals this year, I firmly believe this team is in the playoffs right now. I truly believe that. I mean, think about it. Monahan also had 6 less goals. So that's 23 less goals scored by the forwards this season. Throw in 7 less goals from Fantilli and 5 less goals from Marchenko, and that adds up. That's 35 goals. 35 less goals among those players. The Jackets had 35 more goals this year. They're a playoff team. But Kent Johnson's drop-off was staggering. So I give him the only F. The only F on my team report card this year. And I like KJ a lot. I truly hope the team doesn't give up on him just yet. But he deserves it, all right? He deserves an F. If there was such a grade as an F+, I might give him an F+, because he had value in shootouts. But there isn't. So he keeps the F. Isaac Lundstrom. I give him a C. Average player who did average things. He had no business playing on the top line and second line, ever. But that's not his fault, all right? He was just doing what he was asked to do. But whatever he did, he didn't really excel. Like he didn't knock it out of the park every time. You know, he didn't blow me away with his skills. And perhaps I'm just a little biased here, a little bitter, because I would have preferred to keep Sean Corrali for this past season. I think he would have been better suited for this team instead of Isaac Lundstrom. Kirill Marchenko is next. I may take some heat for this one, but I am giving him a C. I know some may argue, but he was the team's highest scoring forward. He finished second on the team in scoring. Yeah, he did. Both true. But he regressed a bit from last year when the team needed him to at least maintain his scoring pace. And you can't deny that he flat out disappeared for long stretches this season. The team needed a stable, consistent scorer on their top line, and Kirill was not that. And I understand he may have been dealing with some kind of injury, but I'm giving these grades based on performance and expectations, and I thought overall, looking at the season as a whole, Kirill Marchenko fell short of those expectations and suffered a drop off in scoring. So it's a C from me. Next up is Mason Marchment. B. I give him a B. I loved Mason's game, and he was able to stay pretty consistent since joining the team from the Kraken. I know he had a couple injury situations mixed in. I love the mean streak, the nastiness that he brought to the ice. I loved his offensive production, something the team desperately needed. What I didn't like, though, was the bad penalties he was prone to taking and the inability to come through when a clutch goal was needed. Remember that Montreal game and the closing minutes of that game? Need I say more? Next up is Sean Monahan. D. I talked about KJ regressing so much, while Monty was a close second. Please remember something, okay? Sean Monahan was the Jackets' #1 center last season and played well there as the team's #1 center last season. Played on a line that was one of the best in the entire National Hockey League. This season, he was a shell of himself. I firmly believe he brought down production from everyone he played with on that second line. I mean, if you look at all the people that played on that second line who struggled to score, the common denominator was Sean Monahan. And of course, he was demoted at times to the fourth line. And again, this is the guy who was our #1 center last season. He definitely subseeded expectations. And by the way, I looked that up, okay? There's no antonym for exceeded, no opposite of exceeded, so I made up my own word, subseeded. That's what Monahan did. And I realized that he was supposedly also battling injuries. But again, my grades don't take any of that into consideration. Honestly, I don't care. What I care about is this team winning, and Monahan did not do enough to help make that happen, so he gets a D. Matthew Olivier, I give him an A-. You can't ask for much more out of Olivier. Once he was injured, along with Damon Severson, it seemed like the team just couldn't recover. They collapsed. He was the team's best forechecker. He was feared on the ice, and he was perhaps the heart and soul of the team. Without him in the lineup, the Jackets, they just faltered. And the only reason I didn't give him a solid A is for a few mistakes that he made in situations where maybe he should not have even been on the ice in the first place. And for breaking his hand when the team needed him most. He didn't need that fight. I get it. It's hockey. It happens. But man, maybe he should have tried to avoid hitting that helmet so much. I'm assuming that's how he broke it. Quick related side note with that. It is illegal to remove your helmet before a fight in the NHL or to intentionally remove an opponent's helmet. But what about a teammate? If you see your teammate square off against an opponent, could a teammate skate over quickly and remove the helmet for him? If both combatants had a teammate do that, would that help prevent broken hands? I think it might be a legal loophole. But, of course, it would negate the purpose of the rule, which is to prevent head injuries due to falls. Anyway, just wanted to share that. So, back on topic. Next up is Cole Sillinger. Really like Cole's game this year. The third line with Olivier, Coyle, That was the team's best, most consistent line. So I give Cole a B. He always gave 100%. You could always see the hustle in his game every game. Apparently, I didn't realize this. I forget who said this. It was one of the writers who covers the Jackets. One of the reasons he was drafted so high was because of his wicked shot. Well, I hope we get to see that more in the years to come, because a team starved for offense really could use a number 12 overall pick. I think it was 11 actually, to put more pucks in the net. And if Coyle leaves, if Charlie Coyle moves on, I wonder if Cole Sillinger will slot back in at center on the third line with Olivier, and then a new winger joins them. And I think Cole would do okay with that. Last forward I'm going to talk about is Dmitry Voronkov. I'm giving him a D+. One of the Jackets' most frustrating players to me. How can a 6'5" behemoth of a man play like a 5'11" guy? Voronkov does not use his size enough to his advantage. And he's slow. But opposing players should fear being on the ice at the same time as him. But he doesn't take advantage of that. He doesn't play with enough oomph. It has become his MO to start a season strong and then completely fizzle out. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was like he had like 1 or 2 goals since January, which led to his benching. 1 or 2 goals since Rick Bowness came aboard. 17 goals on the year. Top power play goal getter. And the coach opts to bench you. Something is wrong there. So it makes me wonder if Voronkov is going to be trade bait this summer. So that's all the forwards. Sure, there were others like Zach Aston Reese and Brendan Gaunce. But I'm just sticking with the players that played the majority of the season with the team. So on to defensemen. Starting with Jake Christensen. C. I'm giving him a C. You may not remember, because this seems to have been overlooked a lot, and it seems like it was so long ago now. But Jake Christensen played second pair minutes all last season. He was good enough to be on the Jackets' second pair pretty much all season long. This season, though, 7th or 8th defenseman. Could hardly crack the lineup. And when he played, he didn't do anything special. Never stood out. Never showed he belonged on a second pair anywhere in the league. He didn't make an abundance of bonehead mistakes either. But I would expect someone who played all year long on a team that just missed the playoffs by 2 points last season to show some fire this season and prove that he belonged as a regular in the lineup. But Jake didn't show me that. Next up is Dante Fabro. I give him a D+. The theme this past season seemed to be regression, because Fabro did just that as well. Last season, he was a revelation as Zach Werenski's partner on the top pair. This season, Fabro played more like a third pair defenseman or a 7th defenseman even. Just very disappointing. He shined last year, got a nice new contract, and then didn't live up to expectations. Next up is Eric Gudbranson. I give him a D. He's a likable guy. He has experience, obviously. But he made way too many mistakes for my book and looked slow and out of place, despite his physical play. And I forget what winning goal it was, maybe Boston, where If you watch the replay, he just takes his sweet time getting up off the ice in front of the goal, and player just shoots the puck right in. Now, Gutty grew on me after the first season, after I railed on the Jackets for giving him what I felt was an awful contract. He grew on me, but he fell out of my favor this year. Injured more often than not, and just made some bad decisions. And overplayed, too. Overplayed by the coach, if you ask me. Next up is Denton Mateychuk. I give him an A-. He did not make a whole lot of mistakes this season. He just went out there and did his job. Gave his all. And he's still learning. He is a young guy. So for a young guy to do what he did, I think he deserves a grade in the A range. He contributed quite a bit on offense as well. I would have liked for him to seize a few more opportunities, but I think he is on a good path right now. Next, we have Ivan Provorov. Yeah, Ivan Provorov is a workhorse. I get that. Yeah, he never gets hurt. Yeah, he can move the puck and contribute offensively here and there. But man, he makes some poor choices out there. Some of his passes, oh my goodness. I forget what overtime it was, but the Jackets were desperate to get possession of the puck. He got possession, and it was like a split second later, he flings it out to center ice. Inexplicably, there was no reason to do that. He just got the puck and immediately flipped it out to center, gave possession back to the other team. And I can't remember what game that was, so I can't tell you what team it was. So I give Ivan a solid C, an average grade. Damon Severson. I'm going to surprise myself here. He's the only skater I am giving a solid A to. I was a Damon Severson hater until this season. Well, not a hater, okay? I don't hate any of the Jackets. But he was probably my least favorite Jacket. I felt that Sevo was synonymous with boneheaded. But what did he do this season? He cleaned up his game big time, and he became a great, solid partner on the top pair with Zach Werenski. His injury started the end of the season collapse. So I'm giving Severson a solid A. Zach Werenski, Norris Trophy candidate, and he may even win it this season. An obvious leader, obvious spokesperson for this team. I give him an A-. A- for Zach Werenski. Why not a solid A? Because he faltered down the stretch, okay? He didn't keep pace from his pre-Olympic days. Had he kept going at that pre-Olympic level, this team may be in the playoffs right now. And finally, last defenseman is Igor Zamula. I give him a C. As a 7th or 8th defenseman, I think he performed fine. Average 7th or 8th defensive performance. He did what was expected of him with limited ice time. Made some pretty good passes out there once in a while. I liked his vision. But I hope to see him use his size more to his advantage. And I'm not sure if his contract status. I did not look that up prior to recording this. I'm not sure if he's a unrestricted or a restricted free agent or something else. I'm not sure. And that brings me to the last two players, our goaltenders. First up, Jet Greaves. Only the second Jacket I am giving a solid A to. Jet was basically asked to become this team's number one goaltender, and he delivered. Statistically, he was one of the top 10 netminders in the NHL. Sure, he got scored on, but I felt it was rare for me to say Jet should have had that one. He did a great job. And the games that he did lose, a lot of times it wasn't really his fault. It was poor defensive play from the rest of his team. And then as for Elvis Merzlikins, I give him a C-. For a guy who thinks he should be a number one goalie, he rarely seems to play like it. As a goaltender overall, I should probably put him in the D range for a grade. But for what I expected from him this season, he fits the C range. Average performance for a backup goaltender who we all expected to have a high goals against average and a low save percentage. And that's it. That's all the Jackets regulars. Those are my grades. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me and let me know what you think, and or share your own grades and rationale. You can always contact me by finding me on Blue Sky. Just search for Whaler Jacket. I'm the only one. Or find me on Instagram, also as Whaler Jacket. Or simply shoot me an email, whalerjacket@gmail.com. I'm not sure when I'll record again. I mean, this episode was not something I planned to do. But again, with so little Blue Jackets content out there right now to tide me over until next season, I figured I could scratch the itch myself. It's going to be a long summer, but certainly shaping up to be an interesting one. So I'll pop on here again soon when there is some more CBJ news worth talking about. Until next time, take care, everyone. We'll see you the next time I do this. Go Jackets!